Okay, welcome to the show. This is Terry Lynn with Live True. Today I have a guest, Matt Hazen. He has some real interesting information he's going to share with us. First of all, Matt, so my brand, Live True, is based on personal integrity. So Live True is living true to yourself, living true to what you know to be right and moral and true. And also I have a website now that follows the idea of holistic detoxification. My practice really is following that model, helping people, supporting people's holistic detoxification. And that means your mind, your body, and your spirit. Getting rid of the things that no longer serve you, that no longer belong. And also, so then you're creating a void. And you're able to now take in and fill that void with things that do serve you, things that are nourishing, things that are good for you. And so that's my basic practice and how I coach, and the information that I put out is generally within that framework, let's say. So I came across you recently and your product, which I have, you sent me a bottle, and I'm halfway through the bottle, and I do have some results. I'll share with that a little bit later. Let's first get to know you a little bit. So you are Matt Hazen. I know you live in the United States, and you're from Kansas, right? You're living in Kansas right now. And
Yes, Ted.
and you started a company called Human Consciousness Support. Just give me a tiny bit of background on your company. Why is it called that? And then maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background and what things you came to know recently that caused you to make a product in the first place.
I am founder of a company called Human Consciousness Support, who creates a product called MasterPeace. Human Consciousness Support came about because we knew that the world that we were living in, the toxicity levels and the things that are causing us to have the level of disease and chronic illness that the population is undergo. And we knew that we needed to create a product that would help with the detoxification process and to help people thrive and be as healthy as we all used to be.
So things have changed. Things have changed over the last, well, they seem like they change every week, but the last few years for sure. And then of course, you and I are kind of in the same age bracket. Growing up, things were much different when we were kids, right? So there is an uptick in pollution, and I understand a different kind of pollution that I didn't exactly understand until we spoke. So talk a little bit about what has changed, and maybe if you can share with us a little bit of the data of how we know that that's true and things have changed.
Right, right. So whenever we're taking a look at like pollution levels, we can test the air, and that's a good way to test it. The problem is where we're collecting a lot of the pollution, which we'll get to in just a second, is from the chem spraying, the geoengineering spraying. So what we're finding is that is mostly nanometer sized heavy metals, what now is kind of being commonly termed as trapped forever chemicals. And all it is literally for about the last 30 years, this has kind of become something that they've done. And now starting about 3 years ago, something happened where the way we test the air, and obviously anything that's in the air comes down to the ground, those tests started skyrocketing. And we knew something had changed. And the numbers, which, for the sake of time, 50 years ago when we were looking at tests, we were looking at numbers that were 150 parts per billion. Then we got to up until about 3 years ago. So from about 30 years up until about 3 years ago, we were looking at numbers that were 150 up to 500 parts per billion. And something in 2020 happened. And now when we are measuring the air and soil tests, we are running into numbers that are exponentially much higher than they've ever been. So there's a rapid increase in the accumulation of these, what should be just commonly labeled trapped forever chemicals. That's what scientists commonly term in them. And really what we're talking about is things that are thousands of times smaller than what the naked eye can see. They are so small that they get trapped inside of our cells. We're not just ingesting them in the air in various ways. We're literally taking in now toxins or pollutants that are entering our cells and get trapped in there. And that is causing a whole new level of disease and, not just disrupting the cells. Obviously, our cells make up our human body. So we are running into a whole new level of problematic toxicity. It's really caught up to humanity's health.
Okay, and are we talking about when they're doing the chemtrail spraying and all of that? Are we talking about particles that are nano-sized?
Yes.
Okay.
So we hear the term nano with nanotechnology, nanoparticles. Anything nano, really, we're talking about something that is nanometer size. Yes, nanometer size is about 1,000 times smaller than a cell, a human cell. Even more so than that, actually. So and really when we're talking about things that are nano, what we all really need to know when we're saying that is we're really trying to get at that it's things that are so small that they can go inside of our cells. And when we're talking about pollutants, which we can call heavy metals, we're talking about things as a whole that are positively charged, like a magnet. It's positively charged. And with these cell walls, also, a lot of people don't know this, our cell walls have a positive charge. So when they go inside of the cells, they are trapped, usually. And that disrupts every single type of functioning you can possibly imagine in the human body.
When we're talking about heavy metals, from what I know of that, is what it does, it displaces a natural mineral that your body actually needs to function. And so when a heavy metal gets in there, that will displace, that will get into your thyroid. It's just an example, for instance. And it will displace, I think it's iodine, don't quote me on that, but so that's just an example of a chemical that doesn't belong there that will get in and it will take the place, it will kick out the good stuff, and it will stay in there. And now we've got an organ, let's say a thyroid, we've got an epidemic of thyroid issues. It doesn't work correctly. And even though there could be a lot of reasons for that, we're talking about a reason that is getting worse because what I'm hearing is that the pollution has become so small that now it's even harder to get that out. So that's why I was really interested in this concept. And the concept of nano size. Let's talk about zeolites first, because I've known about zeolites, and your product is based on that. However, the kind that people take in powder form or even in liquid form that is kind of a solution is really good for the gut because we're eating, we're ingesting, we're breathing these things that get in our mucous membranes and in our intestines. And clays have been used for centuries, as part of a diet, a regular diet, so that can kind of grab things that aren't supposed to be there. So zeolites in that form only will stay in the gut, and which is a great first defense. But you have a product that is going beyond that, going beyond the gut wall. So let's bring in zeolites here. I know we've got a limited amount of time today together. We'll have more time later, but for the person that doesn't understand what a zeolite is, just explain real quickly what we're talking about.
Yes. So what zeolite is a natural process that occurs when a volcano shoots off lava and the lava goes into seawater. There's a chemical process there, and then there becomes zeolite. The reason why zeolite is such an amazing kind of helping in the detoxification process, I should say, is that it has a magical negative charge. It's one of the few things that have a negative magnetic charge. It's also something that the human body cannot digest. So no matter what the size of the zeolite is, you basically ingest it. Wherever its size is at, that is going to tell you where it's capable of getting down into the body. And the smaller it gets, obviously, the deeper it can kind of get into things. And with the negative charge, it binds to the toxins or pollutants, which basically all of them have a positive charge, and then your body expels both in a term of about 4 to 6 hours. And so it's an amazing process. Obviously, when we're talking about a detoxification process, you're not just talking about removing the bad, you're talking about replacing it with the best of the best. So, a big part of the formula is nanometer sized zeolite, which has a very good range of size, because when we're talking about magnets, a really small magnet couldn't pull out couldn't bind to a really big positively charged particle. So having a diverse particle range of zeolite's important, and we've gotten that down very importantly. But really the most important part of the process, the formula, I should say, is what else is in it, which is living structured marine plasma. The good thing about, it's really important for people to really know that 99% of them is water molecules. And so if you want to figure out how we're going to clean up our bodies and detoxify our bodies, we really need to look at something that is as close to a super duper healthy human as possible. And there's great things out there such as bee pollen, pine pollen, fulvic acid. There's things like that. But with structured marine plasma, you actually have the most minerals that the human body has. The human body has 102 minerals, and the structured marine plasma has 96 minerals. Now, again, that's very important, because when the zeolite goes to bind to the heavy metal particles, there needs to be at the same time enough minerals to replace them. And so our formula is as chock full as we can get it, with a perfect mineral spectrum of 96 of the 102 human minerals that the human body needs to perform its regular functioning.
I know there's an exchange that happens, and that's my whole model of my practice, actually, on different levels, and so that's why this is so interesting to me. So it will take out the zeolite, whatever size it is, because your product has a particle range distribution of, I don't know how large it is, but from really small, really teeny to, varying sizes, I guess. And then it will exchange that with one of the minerals, or many of the minerals found in the marine plasma, which to me is brilliant. So, and that needs to happen, I think, for this exchange to be successful. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right on track, Terry, perfectly. You need both of them at the same time. If you don't have zeolite, you can't pull out the heavy metals. If you don't have the minerals to replace it with, the body isn't real quick to want to give up those heavy metals, because, they stick with them.
Yeah. Okay, so this would be, to me, a safe way to detoxify from heavy metals, which is a big problem. Most people are aware of that. Because what I usually say is, save the heavy metal concerns for later, after you start other cleanses, because you need to get your emunctories functioning well, like your liver and your lymph and all your skin. Everything needs to be able to express. However, because heavy metal detoxification needs to be done very carefully. But this is a product, I would guess, seems to me, would be a very safe way from the get-go to do that, because you have your heavy metal and you have your zeolite, and the zeolite's kind of gonna take it out of the body, and it's not gonna get redistributed. It's called retox. You're not gonna have the risk of retoxing. So anywhere along the line of a person's journey, they could even start with this. And generally, I wouldn't have advised people to do that. So I've been on the product for, I don't know, a couple of weeks at least, maybe 3 weeks. I'm halfway through the bottle, and I will say, at first I felt this thing that I'm going to tell you about, and I was like, all right, hold on now. Let me just let's see if there's a pattern, because I know myself. I know my body. I know my patterns. I'm very good at pattern recognition, especially in my own life, because I live with myself, every single second, right? And so I noticed a change I don't know exactly what it is on what level yet, but there's a change in brain function. It might be less brain fog. It might be higher consciousness. I don't know. But my brain, I can tell you unequivocally, at least from the last 3 weeks or however, I would say a couple days after I started it, I noticed things that I wouldn't have done before. I'm a sign language interpreter and I have to recall information really quickly and I have to put it out of my hands accurately and all that. I'm doing my work better. And I was kind of failing there for a little while and I was like, I'm kind of losing it here. It's not coming quickly enough. That's better. I've just noticed certain things. I'm like, I make this connection. It's not making me smarter. It's just making my brain like what's already there is accessible. All right. It sounds like you've heard that before. So I'll say at this point, I'm pretty sure that it's doing something for my brain health, whether it's taking out heavy metals and it's just functioning better. I don't know. Because I know that your product also has other things done to it that is supposed to help with possibly the human consciousness. So let's talk about, you don't have to say exactly what that is, but let's talk about that a little bit because it's not just the two things we've talked about, it's other things that you do to it to make it high level. Right.
So if someone's not familiar with quantum physics, what it basically goes into is that we have intention of anything that really changes how well water and everything performs. There's what they call scalar energy, or what someone would call ether. There is all types of like terahertz that is placed into it. You have a lot of things like magnetism, earthing of the product. You have coatings on the labels that makes it where obviously the labels are on the bottles. It makes it where it has what's called a high consciousness field. And why is that important? A lot of people have heard of the term vibrational frequency, and it's a lot like that. So you can kind of start with that. But when you're talking about your consciousness operating at a higher capacity where maybe your words, your normal conversations with people become more impeccable, or if you're having to retain a conversation and then stay on track per se, you're going to see that, which I guess is brain fog. Anything, what's really, really common that we're hearing about because of all these extra things that we're putting, embedding or encoding on the product, anything that you would relate to your cognitive abilities, your sleep patterns or quality, your dream vividness, anything that has to do maybe with like what you would normally think of as your central nervous system operating, you're going to see subtle, consistent improvements in. That's what we're really hearing a lot about so far. And that's what's really exciting because, our population, our 70-year-old senior citizens don't need to get dementia no matter what. And autism in our 1 out of 7 children where their brain just doesn't operate correctly. This Parkinson's stuff, all this dementia that we're running into, we're really seeing the best, the biggest, the most amazing testimonies so far from people that have problems in those areas.
When you bring up kids too, this is zeolites, like nano zeolites and any zeolites is safe for the pets and children because nano zeolites have been on the market for a number of years.
Right.
How much is in the product varies and the particle distribution range is different. However, so even with the other products, children that have been nonverbal and had a lot of just issues from perhaps being jabbed or perhaps just, I don't know, have taken nano zeolites and within days they're starting to speak. So that's how powerful nano zeolites are. I just wanted to put that out there. So if any parent has a child with any kind of cognitive issues or any issue really, but cognitive issues especially, this is something extremely safe from what I understand that you could try with a child. Because I've seen parents just over the moon getting their children back.
This date, there hasn't been, to my knowledge, any class action lawsuits or anything of people suing. So when you take it in, it's going to do whatever it does, which is bind onto the heavy metals, and then it's going to be expelled. And things like autism that are considered in the normal population to be permanent problems, things that someone's going to have their whole life. We see it rapidly get better when they start introducing things that bind to heavy metals and get rid of them. Yeah, absolutely.
Fascinating.
Very safe to give to children. I can tell you, I give this for. I speaking especially for MasterPeace. I have little children. They have been getting much more than the regular dose for many months as I've been perfecting the amount of everything in it. I really think it's important if we just point out just for a quick second, Terry, it's going to be a little bit off, but what we see with the nanozeolite companies that have nanozeolite products is they have to taper or stop the amount of nanometer sized zeolite in their product, because if they take too much, they get this kind of symptoms where it's like they may get headaches. I don't know if you would call them detox symptoms or what the proper term is for it, but you know, it gives them an icky feeling as their body is getting well, essentially, and purging the toxins. Now, without mineral replacement. So these companies who tend to put nanometer-sized zeolite with water, there's not a lot of minerals in regular water, and so they pull out a lot more heavy metals than what can be replaced, and then people experience those headaches or whatnot. So with ours product, the way we really overcame that, and the reason why we really are head and shoulders above what's been seen before in the zeolite market space, is the fact that our whole product, 99% of it, is very dense, plankton dense, living structured marine plasma, which is just the perfect ratios of whatever type of mineral it is, and it's 96 of them. And so you just have a chock full of these minerals waiting to replace the heavy metals that get pulled out by the zeolite. So what we realized, we started off putting what the other companies put in, and our whole process, Terry, just to throw this out there, we knew the market leaders that have been that had the most effective products, I guess you would say. And where we started all with this was we took it to the lab, the nanotechnology lab, the #1 in America, at least the way they tout themselves, which is Kansas State, and we had them reverse engineer the leading companies, because we wanted to know exactly what's in theirs so that we knew how we could make something better for mankind. And so when we had this tremendous dense amount of minerals that are well ratioed, we quickly learned that we could start putting a lot more nanometer sized zeolite in the formula, and people weren't experiencing those detox or whatever we should call it symptoms. You know, what we run into is, compared to the leading companies in the zeolite market space, we have about, compared to them, I'm not going to go down the list, we have 5 to 12 times more nanometer sized zeolite in our formula, and it's also at a very specific perfected particle distribution range to be able to be maximum effective at removing the waste and the things that don't belong in our bodies, the forever trapped chemicals, and then giving it the best replacement out there.
Brilliant. So you've taken a product that's been used for years, in general, the nanozeolites, and what you've done is you've just kind of upped the game. You've up-leveled it, I think. And I've taken nanozeolites in the past, by the way, not anything on a regular basis, but I haven't noticed what I notice now. And of course, you know, every year a person's life is different. I'm older, and so maybe I have more toxicity. I don't know. But I'm appreciating the benefits so far. So we're going to have you on again. We're going to talk about more specifics later for sure. But I wanted to I had you quick for a half an hour here, and I wanted to get the information out there to my audience. And I'm going to put a link below to where people can go and order the product. I know that let me just say this too, your website is not robust yet. You guys aren't even really public yet. It's like within days it's going to be now, I understand. So it's brand new. I won't put this live until you are able to take orders. So the website's only set up for that, is my understanding, just for orders. But you do have social media, which I'll put down below too. And I understand that that's chock full of information. I haven't checked it out yet, but
It does. It has all types of studies so that parents or people who love their pets can go on there and read through all the studies to see for themselves that it's safe and effective for use, no matter if someone's on prescriptions or not. And, I think it's just really important for everybody to, when they start taking a look at MasterPeace, for them to know that every single part and decision that was put into this had humanity's health and vitality and getting us all back to where we need to be at heart. That's what drove everything about this. And it really comes out in how well the formula is helping people.
Yeah, I'm getting just that your intention is pure and you do have the highest possible intention for your product as well as everyone that you're trying to help. So I'm getting that from you. I have a pretty good sense for that. So that's what we need. We need help. We need lots of help. And people don't want to waste their time with stuff that doesn't work. People don't waste their time with things that aren't worth their weight. And I know your product is less money and you get more as far as what's in there too, and it's safe. So to me, it's a win-win. So we thank you for your time today, Matt. We'll have you on again. We'll have you back when both of us have some time. And until then, is there anything else you wanted to say? Anything I maybe forgot?
No, thank you so much, Terry, for doing what you're doing to try to get the word out for people, to help them, empower them to be able to find their healthiest side of their life again. We're all out there. I know we didn't touch on it today, but the world is a lot more toxic than it was 3 years ago, and we need all the support we can from new products that understand the world that we're actually in now as compared to before. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
You are welcome. We'll get into a lot of those details and specifics later, so stay tuned, everybody, for that. So this is Terry Lynn with Live True. Thanks, Matt.